Yeah, of course.
Wasn't me this week.
Yeah, of course.
Well, welcome back. Where we left off, I think everyone probably recalls quite easily. We have a de-pantsed Diedrich over the shoulder of Medic. You guys had just received the help from a shape changer named Alec Antanovic, and he pointed you just to a distance not far from where he'd already led you. It's basically north of the village of Barovia, which you've not actually been in the village yet. One of you has already died prior to even getting to the first city. So they pointed you to where the wagon had stopped. That technically this would have been the wagon, most likely, that you were following as you entered through those gates in the earlier mists. So as of now, you guys are told that you can get some help there. At least that's the assumption. But Alec himself will not follow into the clearing, to the fire there. Any changes or anything, any questions or anything someone wants to do prior to us approaching that encampment?
Yes, I would like to not be dead.
You know, dead, for the record, is not as unexciting as you might think. You know, you're already aware that you see a different environment now than they do. Basically, the land you find yourself in, it feels nothing like what you were told death would be like. You didn't meet the god of your parents or any god as such. Instead, your spirit felt like it bounced off the edge of a wall. Those mists you saw while alive are solid as, physical walls in this realm. You can't puncture them, but everything around you, everything you see, has the touch of those mists upon them. Your ghostly hands, for example, they show wisps of that mist as you bring them up to what used to be, or where your eyes would be. And when you concentrate, you're able to see your previous body, like your physical body. But it's like as you do that, you concentrate, the ground shifts, for lack of another term, the ground or whatever it might be, until you are basically pulled back to look at your previous mortal coil. As you examine your spirit, you actually see things like your dagger, your belt, you have armor, but all those things, they're effectively, you're intrinsically aware, like your dagger's not made of metal. Your armor is not made of leather. They're all basically extensions of your own substance wrapping you. It's your consciousness attempt to interpret what it's experiencing in things that you're familiar with. But perhaps those things are ways that you can interact with your environment, and they're just extensions of your personality. All right, so anyway, since that's out of the way and he's not exactly going to just suddenly be undead, no one, not like vampire undead, but we're not going to retcon his death. We are approaching the encampment. So the rain has stopped. It's still dark, cloudy, of course, and in a distance, you guys can make out the flickering light of a campfire. The sound, however, that you hear is not of chatter or of talking, but it's actually several instruments of a tune that is somewhat off and a little bit out of tune, perhaps from aware of the equipment, but very enchanting. And as you guys step closer and closer, you can hear it louder and louder, and you recognize that there are 4 people around a campfire. I'll go ahead and share what you guys see. Now, I didn't have a lot of icon choices, so I tried desperately to change them, but it kept like break it. So rather than unbreak it, I just whatever, and I just got the ones I could make work. And so actually, there's two males and 1 female surrounding this campfire, and they don't even make note of your arrival with any sort of shock or surprise. You guys are slightly outside of talk distance. What do you want to do?
The music is slightly loud.
Yeah, it's about to shut off anyway. So anyway, no one's going to do anything up front. That's fine. I just need to know before we continue.
Actually, I think we're gonna have to approach these guys.
Yeah. Okay, so you hear the music before you see those 4 individuals. What did you say? Scott,
Mag
you're cutting
or
out a lot.
I'm
Okay,
not.
what
I'm
was
not.
that?
I'm trying to not talk. Well, I was gonna ask Mag or Twiddles if there's anything they wanted to do. I'm assuming we need to approach.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see a large covered wagon sitting right beyond the small group. The horse is already removed from that wagon to rest. The music you heard took a surprising amount of skill. It's a mix of a small string instrument, some device with slats of metal, and hit with a couple carved sticks. They seem not totally improvised, but they're not professional either. They seem unsurprised at your arrival, perhaps having heard you before you made yourself known, though how they could have heard you over their own music, you've no idea. Without turning away from the fire, the clearly better dressed member of the small party bids you a welcome with a deeper voice, probably from years of drink or harsh singing. He says, "Welcome to the fire, friends. I understand you need some help." And with that phrase, he turns and he looks directly at you, medic, and he raises an eyebrow and he says, "I wondered how I didn't feel you very clearly. It was as though a husk of a human was floating through the air. What are you?"
Greetings and salutations. We have a medical emergency. And I gingerly lay down his broken body.
Why
No
is he not wearing his pants?
A birdman stole them. We did not think to pick them up after he left.
Oh gosh.
I see. How long has he been dead?
Approximately 45 minutes. I don't know. I'm guessing.
That's fine. I think that's acceptable. I was good with anything from a half an hour to 3 hours, depending on how much time you guys spent. Okay. Yeah, he he nods and he says, "Well, in this place, it's not that bad." And he looks over at the other 3. The woman there is clearly the older of the 4 total, and the 2 males, other males that is, look very similar. They're clearly related. And he introduces himself and he tells you that his name is Valentin, and these are his traveling companions, Klavdia, which sounds like an STD, but he assures you it's not, and Bogan and Boris, brothers. Their last names is Rilski. Anyway, he asks you to bring the body a little closer to the light, which you, I'm sure, do.
I drag it by the foot.
Wow.
Plop it.
I have stitched up all the. I already stitched up all the obvious, including that weird crack between his butt cheeks.
Gosh.
Yeah, he looks up at you and says, shakes his head a little bit. And he said that probably wasn't necessary. Strangely, the others are not talking at all. They're not even really making eye contact. He says, "Storms are frequent. You need just a few things, and we can make this happen. Do any of you have a fresh, I mean fresh, the fresher the better, egg?"
Let me look. No, I have a bird feather. I don't have a bird egg. Okay, no, I do not. Did anybody else pick up anything like that in our? I don't think we had something like that.
I don't think we did either.
All right, you'll have to go to the city of Barovia. It's but a stone's throw from here. Get yourself an egg, pay whatever it costs. And if you can find it, I need metal. Copper, steel, whatever you can find. As much of it as is reasonable. I need a rod, at least 6 feet tall, and I can help you.
All right, can we leave the body with you guys?
He looks to his companions, the ones he's traveling with, and they fail to meet his eyes. And he grins this hard to interpret small turn of his corner of his mouth type thing, and he says, "That will be fine. We'll put him in the back of the wagon. There's room." And without another word, Boris and Bogan pick up the body and take it to the middle of the back of the wagon. And they say to you, basically, you can leave them here. They're going to be gone in a couple days, so you have plenty of time. Now, before you guys move on too far, I wanted to point out that for Diedrich, as you had been thinking of your body, you were pulled into this area, and you're going to notice something a little bit strange, something that you wouldn't have seen with your mortal eyes, and that is that 3 of those humanoids, the ones that are colorfully dressed, you can't see that on their icons, but they're colorfully dressed, but somber, they all glow with a white light on the inside. It's mirrors almost the shape of their body. And the well-dressed one, his is like an absence of light entirely. And this makes you pause and look around. And when you look at your companions, Medic is mostly completely devoid of light as well, except for the small what would amount to a candle flame on the inside. And on the opposite end, Val is twice as bright as he should be compared to the others. Whereas Master Gimby, he looks much like Boris and Bogan and Claudia.
Interesting.
We don't detect his presence, right?
You do not, no. Is there anything any of you want to do? Any checks?
Yes,
anything?
I want to ask which direction the village is in and the safest path to get there with the least amount.
The man nods, and he says with a confidence you don't really understand. He says, "Just head south, and then when you see the city, there's gates on both the west and the east. Very easy to enter. No guards to speak of." He said, "I promise you, there will be no attacks."
I turn to the group and ask if they are prepared to depart.
Should any of us stay here with Diedrich's body?
Pantsless, I'm sure he's fine. They won't try anything.
Yeah.
Sewed up my butt anyways.
Yes.
Jerk.
That's
Pretty
true, I
terrifying.
can't.
All right. And that note,
Remember
let's
to
depart.
cover the stitches, though.
What was that?
To me or him?
I heard Gimby. What was the other person?
I said we'll have to remember to cut his stitches.
Oh man, that would hurt so bad. Wake up with that. All right. So, is anyone staying behind, or are you guys just heading out? That's fine either way, just so I know.
I think we're all leaving.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna
Head
mess
south.
with moving your icons right now. Pardon?
Head south.
Yes. So, looking back at the main map, for those, I don't know if you probably all have it open, you begin the journey. I'm marking the arrows heading toward the village. You were up here. It takes you not too terribly long to make that trip. Another 15 minutes or so.
Oh, nice.
The rain seems to have held off. As you get closer, tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds most everything. Now, again, it's different than the mist, which are basically solid walls of fog. This is just regular fog. It's after a rain, the ground lifts it up. At least that's what you could feel. The muddy ground underfoot gives way eventually to slick, wet cobblestones as you approach the city. The tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings. The windows of each house stare out from pools of blackness. No sound cuts the silence except for mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. You hear, Gertrude! David, you do not hear this. Sorry, Diedrich. You do not hear that. You, however, hear barking.
Okay.
And so he's not attached to his body. He can move freely.
Yeah, there's a certain distance he can. Well, he can basically keep perusing, but at a moment's notice, if he so desires, he can be right back at his body. He hasn't necessarily followed you guys.
Oh,
He
gotcha.
hears barking. It's up to
he's
him
found-
whether he follows you.
He's found his dog at last.
Ah, no, not the dog.
Oh, that's the barking.
Oh, you're the worst.
Oh, ghost puppy.
I'll-
If you could somehow get the ghost puppy to come into the real world, have a ghost puppy following you around.
And
how
Diedrich
cool
will
would that
look
be?
around to see if he can find the source of the barking.
Oh, I'm
All
so
right.
jealous.
Go ahead and give me an investigation check.
Alrighty.
Oh man, you
awesome.
immediately, you immediately sense where you would need to go in order to get closer to the barking, and it's up to you whether you want to pursue that sound or not.
Yeah, sure.
All right, and in a moment, your body just peels across the ground again. This ethereal mist at what would be your feet, and you approach a city with where your friends are traveling. And what you notice as you slide through there is that there are a number of bodies, like a whole bunch of them, that are humanoid but don't have light in them. And maybe 1 in 7, 1 in 10, somewhere around there, are glowing lights. And you don't know really what that means. It's just that you can use that almost as a way to see. And as you move on, there's this sense that pulls you toward a large Victorian old house, broken down. And inside of it, think of it like having X-ray vision. Yeah, you can see the outlines of the house, and you know that it's there, but you're seeing the glowing beyond it. And there's the little wisp of a small dog barking fiercely, and it is next to a glowing form of an older woman, and she's wailing, and she's holding on to a doll of some sort. She's the one who's screaming. Now, swinging back to the rest of you guys who aren't dead. Yep. All right. So, at the city, when you come into the city, it's this old, Victorian style, but that's perhaps too fancy. It's broken down. It's like it was in its
Gothic
era.
style.
It was very clearly ritzy at one time, but it hasn't moved forward. It's like this is a period trapped and then just decayed. I'll give you some drawings here, just to give you some ideas.
Okay. Can I still hear the wailing, the crying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would like to investigate that because Medic is concerned that somebody needs medical assistance.
Okay. So as you're traveling through the city, actually, I might have a player map of the. Yeah, I do. Okay. Here, I'm gonna give you guys this. So this is the city, the site you've entered in. I'm gonna, for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna leave only one icon on here for you guys to use as your guide, and I'm gonna adjust it so that it fits proportional. Okay, that's probably about right. Can you see that? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I can.
So,
Yep.
yeah, the I might need to adjust it so that it's actually at the right layer. Now let's think about it. Sorry about that. You probably can't click it or move it. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to. Well, actually, maybe you can. Can you? Try moving your character, please.
Yeah, they can.
It says
Okay.
wounded. Oh, that's David.
I tried to grab a medic. Medic, you are wounded from the last encounter. No one has actually rested since then.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, as you're entering into the city, the wailing is sounding from. Find it on here. Oh yeah. Okay, it's this direction. Oh, gotta clean. There we go. Okay. It's basically this direction. I mean, you have a clear path here, but it's a little more southern of that. There's a few small signs that indicate areas of the town. One poorly written and chalk drawn sign says like Bildreth Mercantile, and it points the same direction. Blood of the Vine Tavern points the same direction. The mansion, Burgomaster's Mansion, points the same direction. You know, basically, you realize on this side of the town, the sign's almost superfluous because pretty much everything of note is in generally that direction. But you may continue to go whichever way you want. However, you did notice on that sign. Well, actually, give me a perception check. Whoever wants to be the sign observer. This is gonna be see what you noticed.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
Ooh,
my
nice.
gosh. Wow. All right, Gimbleforth. You immediately realize a strange pattern. For a city of this size, you would expect there to be several places you could purchase items, but sort of stand out and larger than the others is Bildreth Mercantile seems to be the only general store in the entire town based on these small signs here. You also recognize that it's been scribbled over several times, like reinforced. Whoever it is who owns this has made sure that his sign is up front and firstmost, and other people have written some derogatory terms that have since been scrubbed off. But yeah, one of them that you made out since you did such a good perception check. One of them says, "Festanion piece of beep."
Wow.
And it was scratched out. So anyway, you go ahead and take control of your character. What's your name? Medic.
Is that my character I moved? Because all I see is it
Yes,
says
you did.
wounded. I don't even see my picture. It's just a yellow dot.
Oh, you don't?
It's because the size of the there you go.
Oh, there we go. Yep. So none of the signs say anything about a temple, but there's a mercantile place where I assume we can buy an egg and.
There's a reference to a church. So yeah, there is a church there. And we can, yeah. You do see a sign for church. If you want to head that way, you could.
I think we should just knock on the nearest door. Initially.
Go for it.
Okay, I will
Okay.
do so.
Just don't look in their eyes.
What? Oh yeah. Don't burn them to death, please. They appreciate that.
I don't have that turned on.
Why is this not... I'm supposed to... One of my rollables is not rollable right now. Huh. Alright, 1 second. Yeah, that's strange. Oh, it might be that I have too many things open or something. Because it is simply not showing up. Okay. Alright, so here's this. You open up the first door there, and let's see what rolled. Yeah, you press on the door. Are you guys able to see what it says down there?
5
A
swarms of
swarm of
rats.
5 rats.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. So you open the door. The lock was effectively aged to nothing, and what runs out is a slew of rats. You have a choice right now whether you want to go in or not. You see them in there, swirling around, running over each other. They're not as scared as they should be.
I think we're good on that. I think
Yep.
we're gonna not go get in a fight
Especially
with
since
rats.
we haven't rested.
Yes.
It would be very embarrassing for you guys to die to rats. I mean,
Well,
it'd be
no,
terrible.
technically, I would say that I didn't open the door because I wanted to knock on the door.
Yeah, and you went knock knock, and the door goes because the
Okay,
lock had worn
gotcha.
away to nothingness. But they didn't swarm out at you, even though there's swarms of them in there.
I vote we tally on.
Go. Yep.
All
I
right.
agree. So do we see like smoke coming out of any of these houses? Because in the picture, it shows
Yeah.
smoke coming out of some of
Yep.
the houses.
Yeah, you can see it. Like I'll expand this a little bit. See the smokestacks?
So I'm gonna knock on the door of the closest one that has smoke coming out.
That's pretty clever. All right, you do so, and when you knock, you hear whispered voices. And give me a perception check, Val.
Can I do investigation?
No, not in this case, because you were
Okay.
knocking. I'm going to see if you perceive something you weren't trying to investigate.
I gotcha.
Yeah, you can't make out what they're saying, but you get the distinct sense that they're trying to pretend like they're not there.
Okay, so I'm going to forcefully ask them to come open the door using my
All right.
intimidation.
Oh, all right. Go ahead and give me an intimidation check then.
I get advantage on intimidation, so
Okay. It's a good thing you did.
Nice.
That one. Yeah. All right. So you perhaps magically enhance yourself or use some background traits of yours and thoroughly give them a rousing scare from the door, and you hear locks unlocking, and the door is opened ever so slightly, and you see a short man, brown hair, fearful looking eyes peek out and say, "What do you want?"
well, we are looking for some assistance for our friend to be healed, and we need an egg and a rod of steel. If you could help us get that, yeah, like a 6-foot long rod of
7 foot
steel.
long rod of steel.
Do you know where we might be able to get that? And also, I want to point out that I've got this cool trait thing that I'm not sure how to send it to you. I'm trying to put it in the chat. It's called Heart of Darkness, but it basically means people have to help me. Doesn't sound like something that would,
Oh, you're a
make people
haunted
like
one.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, aren't you too?
Yep.
Yeah, it says those who look into your eyes can see that you have faced unimaginable horror and that you are no stranger to darkness. Though they may fear you, commoners will extend you every courtesy,
All right.
their utmost to help you.
Oh, nice.
Unless
Yeah,
you've
wow.
shown yourself to be a danger to them, they will even take up arms to fight alongside you should you find yourself facing an enemy alone.
Wow. So this man looks at you, and he started by being very pensive and wanted to hide, but he makes the mistake of meeting your eyes, and in that moment something inside him shifts, and he tells you that his name is Stefan, and that his family's inside, and he'll help you. There's only one place that he knows you could get an egg that's anywhere close, at least in this city. He said you could go to Wallachia, one of the other larger cities, but in Barovia, only the mercantile would actually have a fresh egg. Those are brought in from out of the city. And he says, as to the metal, he can't promise you, but perhaps even using some of the mercantile swords and welded together, something like that, you could get the length you needed, and the mercantile could help with that. He said it's possible if you were to go from house to house that maybe someone will have purchased an egg and has some, but the Barovians like himself are generally not very well off, and things have not been good for a very, very long time. Not since the cursed one took his throne.
Who is the cursed one then? I
Yeah, can you
inquired.
tell us a little bit more about that?
He pauses, not wanting to answer you. You realize immediately that he's got a superstition about it, and he says, "The devil." And he leans over. He motions you to get closer, and he cups his hands around his lips and puts them up to your ear, and he says, "Strahd Venzarovich. Don't say his name. You don't want his attention."
Strahd Benzarius, I say. Story name and database.
Wow.
He shudders. He jerks. He's like, "Oh God, no, oh son of the morning, don't say that." And it's Zarovich.
Strahd Venzarovich.
Oh son of a
Making
biscuit.
corrections. How do you spell that, sir?
He says, I can't spell. Do you think I had time for school? I don't. I barely get by. And I do it mostly by poaching. Swinging back to David for a moment, lest he start playing WoW.
I did not.
just have to be quick. So as you are looking to that scenario of the dog barking, it's barking at the woman, but beyond that, just at the edge of what you can see, because your vision is effectively shortened to think of it in the grayscale, and clouds or mists are beyond wherever you're going. You are light. Those others that are glowing, they're also lights, but otherwise it's just scarfed up in a gray darkness. You see beyond her this dark shape with arms that are reaching out. When I say arms, think more like tentacles. And it's sitting at a certain distance or standing or whatever, floating perhaps, you can't tell, watching over that mother or grandmother or whatever she is, and is pretty intent, you feel, in perhaps nefarious intent. You don't get a feeling of love from this tentacled shade. So, your choice, if you want to do something or just hold off, that's fine too, and then we'll swing back. Doesn't matter.
Is the dog my old dog?
You, well, go ahead and give a perception or insight. Actually, insight be better. Because it is notably bigger than your dog was.
So by your dog, do you mean the dog that you had for like an hour before you murdered it?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you got 12. You can't tell. It doesn't look like your dog anyway. It's probably twice the size that the dog was, but the bark is very similar.
Okay.
Shockingly similar.
Is the lady, is she lit up or is she more?
Yes.
Okay.
She's lit. Not like in drugs way. She's crunk, man.
Shit. I'll move a little bit closer to see what else I can tell about what's going on. But other than that, I'm not gonna do anything else yet.
Okay, as you move forward, that shade moves the same amount of distance closer as well. All right, swinging back to the other guys. That villager's willing to help you. He tells you where the mercantile is, and is willing to take you there if that's what you need.
That is what we require. I also ask why there's only one mercantile in this.
He shakes his head and he explains to you that the land has been cut off for such a long time that the coins that they have effectively been recirculating for as long as he can recall, and some say as much as 400 years. The coins have not had any new minting, almost no fresh ones come across. He says that, some people, the wealthier ones, actually have fun trading in the few coins that are newer, that have come from, they believe, other places. But no one who's here ever escapes. So wealth is extremely rare. The people that are wealthy, they're unusual, and they are smart enough to know how to keep their funds flowing. The only businesses that seem to thrive are this mercantile that's been around in the family for hundreds of years. So they've a bit of a stranglehold. Anything else that tries to come in and basically beat them, they can't really win that fight. He just holds all the cards, as it were. And so he can charge higher prices, but if anyone tries to do anything else competitively, he can undercut them long enough to defeat them and crush their other businesses. So anyway, he shows you where this place is. It is this building here. I'm going to go ahead and open up everything you might need in between. It is this one right here.
Well, shall we go get an egg?
Let us go forward.
Okay. You guys see the store. The man asks if he can go back to his family. It's not safe. It's dark at this point, and he doesn't want to stay out any longer. So he begs your permission to leave.
Yeah, well, before he goes, I want to ask him, like, is there anything that we can do to help? Anything that we can do to help? Because clearly he's in distress.
He looks back and forth and he says, the only thing that I really live for is the wine. But the wine is so rare now. I don't know what's happened. Keep that flowing. It's quite literally our lifeblood. Without it, there's no joy for us in Barovia, and it is the lifeblood of trade, and it is completely stopped. The wizards of the vine, they should be producing more, but we haven't had any in many months, and so the supplies have dried up to nothing. I can't afford a bottle. I can afford none of it at this point. It is so expensive, so overpriced.
Where are these wizards located?
Oh, it's quite a journey. You'll have to go past Valaki. You'll have to find the vineyards in use there. I've never personally been there. But the mercantile, he may know more. Surely the tavern will know more. The Blood of the Vine Tavern would know more. And he points to you, basically the other side of the street, and he points up here. Again, making sure you guys can see it. He points up here that-that's the tavern.
I rolled a 19 for medical checks or medical skills, so I want to give him a lengthy speech about cirrhosis.
He's nodding and very timidly sort of agreeing with you, but you can tell his eyes are glazing over as he doesn't understand most of anything of what you're talking about. And he's furthermore disturbed by your size and creature, and he does not know what you are, but he feels too intimidated to ask. Not that you'd be able to tell that, Medic, but the others can.
I give him a ginger pat on the back, and then I'd like to head to the mercantile and know what everybody else. And as we're going through, like, any of the alleys, do we see any, like, scrap metal, or the alleys?
Yeah, that's a good question. Go ahead and, if you want to be looking, go ahead and roll. I'll let anyone who is, I guess all three of you can go ahead and roll in that sucker.
For which one, perception then, or investigation?
Yeah, perception is fine, or investigation if you have an advantage on that. That's fine too. Anyone gets a 20, I'll say you find something.
Ooh, so close.
Yeah, Medic was really close. You found some metal that, with some work, could probably count to a foot of it.
Medic points out that he is 7 feet tall and mostly comprised of metal, so.
I tell you what, I would allow that.
Let's
if you
see
want
what
to
the
roll
guy-
on it,
Heck
a
yeah.
Constitution saving, I will allow you to roll on that. I think that's an amazing, hilarious idea that I didn't think of.
Heck yeah. I'm guessing it was struck by lightning or something, but that's alright.
So that metal, you found that little bit of metal, you're like, well, you could form it and shape it around some of your non-metallic parts to make sure you have connection.
Like a jumper.
Yeah, basically.
Yep, we're doing this. We
Yeah.
just need the end.
We still got to roll for it.
This is sound science, according to Medic.
Oh my
Much like
goodness.
chopping a dog in half and counting its rings to tell us.
Alright, so this is amazing. Alright, so you guys, you open the tavern. It is surprisingly not very busy. well, maybe not so surprising now that you guys realize that drinks are becoming more and more expensive as basically any mercantile wines would have probably been from the same source. They don't have a whole lot of that. They do have some materials, some foods, and metals, basically stuff that, not to be too meta, but just about most things that would have been in your starter guide for equipment, they're all available there. And the things that are listed with prices, they're a good 5 times the prices you would have ever seen before. Even though none of them are particularly special looking, some of them look downright old. But yeah, so you approach the front guide. So you open the door. The sparse light from this building spills out from behind drawn heavy curtains. The sign over that door, creaking on its hinges, reads Bildrath Mercantile. And as soon as you get in there, you see Bildrath. He's got a large bushy beard that's on both the left and right side of his face, but in the very middle, like on his chin, is bare. It's just a style from many years ago. And he notices your approach instantly, and he's a short guy. I'm not sure that you would have necessarily known. I don't know if you guys would have seen dwarves or not on your travel, but he calls over to this girl over there, and on the other side, or not girl, sorry, small little boy that you at first think is a girl, and in fact I suspect that Medic probably can't tell the difference. He says, Perry, go help them. Go see what these newcomers want. And so this little boy with a Newsies hat comes up to you, dirty-faced, poor clothes, and basically says, how can I help you boys? You men, and whatever you are. He looks at Medic, confusion and a little bit of fear.
We are in search of an egg. The fresher, the better.
Oh, an egg? What would a thing like you need an egg for?
To revive our friend.
Oh, you foreigners are ridiculous. All right, whatever. Okay, well, I'll tell my uncle. I'll get you an egg. Does it matter what it's from? Because we only have chicken eggs.
I believe that will suffice.
All right. Go negotiate with my uncle about it, and I'll go get you an egg. And so he scurries off. And you hear him very quickly opening a chill box larder and moving boxes and cartons aside as he looks for stuff. And Bildrath looks at you and says, an egg? All right, well, that'll be 3 gold.
Goodness.
Trying to see if I have any money. Where's our money listed at?
Well, Medic has 8 gold pieces, if I'm not mistaken.
It's in your inventory at the bottom.
Oh, no, that's a party one. That's actually the whole party, I think.
I mean,
Gimbleforth is feeling feisty and tells little bushy beard that he will not pay 3 gold pieces, but he will take an egg. And I do.
Wait. Medic's treasure has dead kids thing in it.
yes,
Brush.
dead kid's toy. And what was the other thing?
Ivory brush, pristine rubies or something. I can't actually. Pristine's.
Raven's feather. That's the pristine raven.
Okay. And then 2 gold pieces and 15 silver. Okay. Carry on, Gilby. What were you gonna say? I just got shocked by finding it there.
He likes that.
I would like to confront Bushy Beard and tell him that we will be taking an egg, but will not be paying 3 gold pieces for it.
You will be taking an egg, and you will be paying 3 gold pieces. Or alternative, you don't pay the 3 gold pieces, and you won't be taking an egg.
I would like to stand a little taller, look him in his eye, and tell him he is wrong. I do have bad reputation, so it says when I enter a civilized settlement, I can get away with minor criminal offenses, and I tell him I'm not afraid to take the egg without paying anything.
right, give me an intimidation check, because I think that's where this is heading. You sound like a bandit. All right, so he looks at you, and there seems to be no response over his eyes, like his eyes never move, but you see his hand move, and lifts up this just disgusting-looking hammer because it has all these red dried, brownish dried bits on it, where this hammer has clearly been used on the noggins of people that have tried
to
similar
shoot
things.
eggs.
And he sort of rests it on the table with a thump. Said, "Or are you? Okay. Well, let's see what you got, little boy. I've slain much bigger than you, though I have to admit, none much bigger than him." As he points at Medic.
I was gonna say, Medic just casually, not trying to intimidate, but might seem intimidating, raises.
Oh my goodness.
He says, "It's a wind-up toy you've got, I see. A fancy one. I'll give you 3 gold for that. Maybe we can trade. I'll give you 1 egg, and you give me that contraption."
I let them know
Little
that
boy comes up. with
my
the
parts
egg.
alone are worth way more than that. They could haggle and get a way better.
All right, well, we don't have many that can bite, and I can't actually confirm anything of what you're saying. Whatever. Give me the 3 gold, take your egg, and go. Is there anything else you'd be needing? No?
How much is a
Then
bottle
give me
of wine?
the 3 gold. Oh, yes, well, we have 3 tiers of wine. I only have 2 bottles left of the premium dragon's blood. That one, 17 gold a bottle. If you want the cheaper stuff, still comes from the same area, but as you know, well, maybe you don't know, you seem to be actually travelers. That stuff is, well, still 9 gold. There's not much to be had.
So can you give us directions as to where this comes from? I heard that your supply was interrupted.
Well, I get it from the tavern. They buy in bulk.
Understood. Well, thank you for your help.
Alright, well, give me the gold. I give you your egg. And if you want the bottle, maybe we trade.
So
And I
now we
will
have...
remind you guys do have stuff if you so desire to use it in such a way.
Like my ivory brush.
How do we access
Right.
the party inventory again? That popped up a minute
In the
ago.
upper right, there's icons with the 3 heads, 3 character
gotcha.
counts, whatever.
I'm
And then you
angry at Bushy Beard, and I'm offering frog stick as a trade.
It weighs 4 pounds too. It's weight of 4. What the heck?
A frog
Desiccated
stick?
frog lashed to, yeah, lashed to a stick. It's a frog lashed to
A
a stick.
dissected frog lashed to a stick.
It's a pretty heavy one. Yeah. So he raises an eyebrow, and he says, "What the bleep is that? I don't understand it. What are you weirdos doing? And where are you from that means anything?"
Oh man, you should bluff him that where you're from is
So-
a delicacy, and it's worth a lot of money because it's a very rare and delicious. Use your bluffing or your charisma. Your
All right,
What do
do
they
it.
have? Do
I'm
they have
okay.
bluff?
I will allow that. Give me a bluff. And then you better
Is
make it
that-
a believable
is
lie.
that going to be performance or whatever? I'm not going to do it because, but I think that's a good idea for him to do. Deception, you got to do it.
Yep.
You could do a Gimble Forth.
Well, I'm trying to see if I've got anything else that I can. I feel like me and Bushy Beard are on bad talking terms. Val's been playing good cop. He should try to sell the frog stick.
Oh, and he's also magey like, so yeah.
I don't even see the... Okay, there's the frog stick.
Okay, you've been spending all that time looking for it. That's hilarious.
Oh no, I was looking through all the other stuff that we have. So yeah, it's not really my style to try to like con this guy.
All right.
That'd definitely be a Gimble 4 type
Well,
thing
that's
to do.
true.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm go-
I would say role playing wise, that's definitely Gimble.
So I'm gonna ask him if he would trade us a bottle of his finest wine and the egg for 1 gold ring.
And he takes the ring and he looks it over and he bites it and he says, "Oh, this is actually good gold. Well, hmm. All right, well, this gold ring and maybe that frog stick thing isn't magical."
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
He's already making out ahead on the gold
It's-
ring.
Yeah, I think
so
Yeah,
we're-
but he also charges 5 times the normal going rate of everything. This guy's lives for a deal, so he's gonna negotiate.
I think we should have opened with the frog stick before we moved to the gold ring. Like lie about the frog stick. Oh, if Cantor was here, that's
the
what she would have
frog
done.
stick. The frog stick may well be magical, but since we don't know, I think I would have to take. I mean, maybe if you threw in one of the lesser bottles of wine as well, then we could throw in the frog stick.
No deal. Yeah, I mean, I'd gladly admit that the gold ring it probably be worth a lot, but who will buy? Who will buy? So
Who's gonna buy your
Gold ring.
premium wine?
there are a few.
Are they the same kind of people that like gold things?
Like gold ring.
You can't drink. I keep switching accents. It's so hard to maintain.
Can't
but
pin
I've
it
got
down.
voices in my head.
Where's this guy
I
from?
can't.
Somewhere in the Russian Federation, I think.
Does
The
it have
UK.
a Does it have a Scottish? Yeah, does it have a Scottish sect?
Yeah, he did a lot of shopping in the Scottish sections of the Arabic, Italian. Anyway, he's very firm about this that people can drink wine and it brings them great joy, but gold rings are only for impressing other rich people, and there's not a whole lot of them. So he could make use of the gold. He knows that. He recognizes that as valid, but it's not. It's basically probably worth half as what you guys would expect it to be. So 25 is more like 14 or so.
Well, then I guess we can throw in the
Yeah.
frog stick, the desiccated frog on a stick. If you have to twist
All
my
right
arm.
then. All right, we have a deal. And he spits in his hand, and he sticks it out to you.
Ooh, I
Val.
shake his hand. I want to shake his hand, and then I want to do a medical check. See if I can find anything in his saliva.
You stretch out your hand and he says, whoa, spit. You must spit. We seal deal.
I spit oil.
Or
into
otherwise
my
I'll be changing where I'm from. What now?
I spit oil into my hand.
That's great. He pauses for a moment before just accepting your hand, and your grip is extremely strong and uncomfortably long. Go ahead and do a medical check.
Ah!
You believe that he's a species of
I
feline.
definitely think he's a species of feline. I ask him that if he has mange. I believe he has mange. I tell him that. He's got bad.
Yeah, he raises his eyebrow. He's confused, but he then quickly takes the gold ring and the frog on a stick. That's great. And he gives you one very fresh egg and a bottle of wine. I'm gonna have to add that to your party sheet later. So anyway, you now have a bottle of wine and you have your egg. You guys may make your journey leaving. We're gonna switch back, however, for the moment to David. David, give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh boy. That's
Yeah.
not good.
That's not good. So you feel, as you had stepped just a little bit closer, but it also moved closer, you notice the wisps of your very self are being pulled toward that shadow, that darkness. And you hear the faint sounds of screams. And as you're feeling that pull, you realize that the reason you haven't seen more complete spirits is probably because something like this has been devouring those that bounce off the walls of this domain. And so
Oh,
you
good.
realize suddenly you're in a lot of danger, and that dog wasn't barking at the woman so much as at that thing, and perhaps its nearness to the woman or nearness to it. Who knows? You weren't able to tell that.
Cool.
So you have but moments to make a decision on what you want to do.
Is there any option to fight it?
Well, you realize you have a dagger.
I have a
You
short
haven't
sword.
tried it. I mean, you can feel free. Or a short sword, yeah. Sorry, you're not the rogue anymore. I keep thinking of you as the rogue still. Because of our other game. But yeah, you have a short sword that when you look to your side, it's there. You could wield it and attempt to attack if you so desired.
Yeah. With this being an unfamiliar domain, I'm gonna head the opposite way.
Okay, give me a... What would make sense for this? You're going to try to escape, basically. Get away from it. Give me a athletics check.
I'm gonna perma-die. I'm gonna perma-die.
Alright, you go to pull away, and the creature recognizes fear and immediately starts charging toward you. A tentacle lashes out. Now let's see. Alright, well, that tentacle happens to go right over your head, and or whatever the spiritual equivalent of your head would be. But you can feel the very essence of who you are, memories from when you were a child being eaten and pulled away as that tentacle slides over the top. The dog, however, sees this, starts barking aggressively, and charges toward the tentacle arm that swung over. Alright, we'll reach back to the other guys now. You guys are leaving the building. You're able, if you so desire, to visit any of the other areas of the town or start heading back to the encampment.
All right. I would say we would head back to the encampment. To
Yeah, I would agree.
get our friend back as undamaged.
Right. Same here.
Okay. Alright, so you start leaving the city. Takes you only 10 minutes or so to get back out because it was not too far from the entrance where this was, and it was an easy path, so you have no trouble recalling where you were. And in this time, more occurs for Diedrich. So Diedrich, the dog has charged the arm and has bit at it. Go ahead and you roll me a d20. You're going to be playing the role of that dog as well.
Oh, good.
Give me a d20. Alright, so the dog snaps and misses, and as the tentacle comes back, it brushes against the dog, and you see wisps of energy, and it...
I'm
and
gonna
you see
perma-die.
pieces of it pulls away with that arm, and the shadow seems to become darker, more substantive.
Cool.
It's technically your turn to try to do whatever you want, whether that be still trying to escape or attack or whatnot.
No, I remember the dog and remember the pain, so I'm gonna fight for myself and the dog.
Okay, so you're gonna attack?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not. Why did I roll at disadvantage?
I don't know. Oh, because you're dead. I'm going to remove the plan. You rolled a 20.
I
You
did.
swung, and yeah, and so just ignore it. It's because you're dead, and it's treating it as regular attack. So you'd be laying prone and whatever. It doesn't, so yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so yeah, so your blade is at this moment the brightest part of you. It's like your very essence got poured into that what would have been a shape of a sword, and the brightest, firmest, most coalesced portions of yourself are imbued into this blade. It strikes true, and that tentacle rips apart. But even as that happens, a piece of you feels like it goes with it. So the tentacle breaks off. You can't hear a sound. It's not that there's no sounds, but this thing seems to be the absence of sound. But even so, you can feel it recoil and the shift of emotions and tides of memories sort of swell and pull inside itself like it breathed in a gasp in pain, but instead of air, it's pulling in thoughts and memories, times and experiences, feelings you had as a youth through adulthood. But the tentacle falls off, and you successfully have thwarted that attack that was pulling in the dog. It looks at you. In that moment, though it's larger, you see its eyes. Give me a perception check, insight check rather.
Alright.
All right, that's yours. Now give me one for the dogs.
Is that a D20?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yep.
Well, he wouldn't have a +2.
Yeah, I understand. Right. No, he wouldn't. Yeah. Okay. So you recognize in that moment that this is the dog that you had sacrificed, but it does not recognize you right now. It's larger, though, you realize, because of how it perceives itself, how it had perceived itself prior to death. Yep. All right. So swinging back to the other group, you guys begin your trek outside the city. A storm starts brewing, however, a large one. The rain is picking up, and you think, well, probably convenient.
Exactly. Start wiring myself up while I'm walking.
You hear, though, as you guys are walking or going farther along, the sounds of a beating heart for just a moment, and it surprises you because you just don't understand where it would have come from. And in that moment, a fight is occurring in a realm beyond you guys' vision, tied to those that you care for, or at least bonds have been formed over. David, go ahead and... oh, actually, it's my turn to roll.
It is.
Mm-hmm. All right. The tentacle misses you. Yeah, misses you, Diedrich. But swings and impacts the dog. It howls again as another tentacle attempt to rip parts of it, and this time you saw the dog seem to get smaller. Its actual size shrinking as it yelps in pain. And it'd be up to you to roll as you if you wanted.
The dog was first, I believe.
Okay. Well, he got hit by the tentacle, but that makes sense. I will go and do it. 1 second. Yeah, he snaps and misses. Man, what's this with? Look at that.
Hey,
3
look at all those
tentacles in a row.
10s.
Yeah. So he snaps as the tentacle went past him and tried pulling at him, and it doesn't make connection.
All right. I'm getting super angry now as I'm looking towards the dog and then back at this aberration, and I'm gonna... Yeah, it's a 19.
What's a... plus 5 is 20, so why did it say dropped another 19?
I'm still rolling at disadvantage.
Right, but did you get 2 19? Oh no, you got a 15 and a 19. Okay, so you actually rolled a 24. You strike, and again chop an entire tentacle off that dissipates and pulls away, but even as you do so, you feel parts of you leaving, and the sword itself starts to dim some more. All right, you guys are now within earshot of that camp. No music is playing, however, as you approach, and the taller gentleman this time is facing away from the campfire and is motioning for you guys to come closer. And he says, "You have what we need."
Yes, sir. I present myself with the metal bits strapped across to make a complete circuit, and we present.
He steps closer to you and realize the man is actually really tall. Now he's not as tall as you because you're, if I'm not mistaken, 7 foot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's over 6 foot though, and he starts putting his hands across you, feeling the parts of you that are metal, as opposed to the alchemical muscles or whatever you would want to call them, of the rest of your components. And he sniffs you. All right, this might work. and he points to a few places where you would need more metal crossing, and helps you adjust like a jumper across the other parts of you. And he
This is the
takes
best idea
Diedrich's
ever.
naked body. He drags. He asks you to go drag the Diedrich out of the wagon and to bring it as far away from there as is reasonable, still within the light of the fire. I want a perception check from Val. This would make more sense from Val.
Okay, let's see. Yay.
All right, you don't notice anything. Okay. So everything seems just sort of weird and strange to you. You haven't really caught on anything that is being used or any types of magic. I'm going to say that you're probably being distracted by a screaming you're hearing from another voice in your head that's normally quiet, normally one that you have to sort of listen for. You can hear it screeching. There's something going beyond the realm that you can see that's outside your ability to control. No one else seems to be hearing it. All right.
I'm too busy being excited. I'm getting struck with lightning. I
Diedrich
assume, anyway, because of all my medical
Diedrich
knowledge.
Diedrich, in the realm that you're in, two tentacles are wrapped around you, and you immediately feel that the focus and the drive, the willpower you had to succeed is being leached. Your very essence, even that anger that you were using to forge a weapon, is starting
Wait
to
a
wane.
second. Is this monster trying to marry him?
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry. Couldn't resist.
I didn't mention that he got an erection and never got felt satisfaction again. But, you could take that away
The
from
Family Channel.
Yeah.
Family friendly. Well, I'm bleeping out most of it. Beep. So anyway, you have two tentacles wrapping around you. They're pulling you closer into its maw, and you don't know what you're going to be able to do as you basically are now at a disadvantage as you're feeling more and more exhausted. But feel free to go ahead and try an action, your choice.
Yeah, I'll try and cut myself away.
All right, go ahead, and this time I need you to give me a will save. A wisdom save, whatever charisma is acceptable to. All right, you pull up enough memories of your family and the
That
losses
one
you've
time you
experienced.
killed the dog.
You pull up that memory of you having killed the dog, and it strengthens your blade enough for you to make another attack. Go ahead and try. You don't have much mobility, but go ahead and make an attack. Yeah, so you had an 11.
That'd be 16.
All right, so you strike true, but instead of cutting right through the tentacle this time, you feel your sword drop, and it starts to slide toward the maw of the monster. And you, in this moment, actually, I'm going to go ahead and roll. No, you get to roll for the dog with advantage. Give me a d20 with advantage, please. Wow, that's pretty pathetic. The dog, however, attempts to assist you and is looking at you. There's this recognition of something it knows, but as it occurs, as this dog is becoming aware, there's a fear that suddenly comes over it, not just from the creature, but from the one it's looking at, which is you, Diedrich. It's no longer sure entirely what it...
Gosh dang it.
Poor doggo. Been through so much.
All right, so you guys drag the body, and Diedrich's body is lined up. He's got no pants on, very flaccid. He's very low on blood from last you remember, and
Stitches out of his butt crack on the recommendation.
Valentin.
Gosh.
So he's got little strings hanging from either side of the cheek because you just cut through and haven't actually pulled them all out yet. So he's just got little strings like long hairs on either side of his cheek. Like the maw of an anal mouth.
Well, better than
Whiskers
being
on
sewn
his
together when it gets revived.
And yeah, so he shows you where to put your feet, and basically you step on a left hand, step on a right hand, and actually give me a dexterity check, medic.
Dexterity check. Not a save, right? Just a regular roll.
Yep, just regular roll because you're in control of the
Heyo.
situation.
Hey,
Excellent. You for some reason are keenly aware of precisely how much pressure a hand can take without crushing any bones, and so you've positioned your feet properly, and the what's his name again? Gosh, no, Valentin tells you to lift your arms up high and begins an incantation and a chant. At the same time as he takes this egg and he cracks it on your head, and then breaks the egg over on top of onto Diedrich's chest, and it rolls down his leather shirt, starts rolling into his crotch hair as the egg is stretching over, and he starts speaking dark, strange phrases you guys have never heard over him. You know, it sounds a bit like a offbeat song, even chant like that. And back to David, you're realizing something very terrible is happening as your body's being absorbed by this creature. The dog, in a moment of recognition, has realized who you are. It's caught with fear, but the love overtakes that. And in a moment of ferocity it was never able to do in its life, you see it double up in its size and expand. It's not as dense as it should be. It's stretching itself out as it does so, and it's becoming lighter and lighter, but it becomes like the size of a bull mastiff. And it barks out a chime that it actually hurts even your spiritual ears, and that creature shrieks, and it wraps its jaws around the base of the blob and starts shaking its head as loud as hard as it can. And as it does so, the creature drops you, Diedrich, and the feeling of your life being drained away from you stops completely, as it then wraps its tentacles around the dog, and it howls in pain. Swinging back to the storm, it's building, and the clouds that you can't see because it's dark are being lit up, however, by strikes of lightning internally. As the chanting gets louder and louder and louder, before finally a peal of lightning goes through and strikes with this eye-searing brightness upon Medic. Medic, give me a Constitution saving throw.
Come on, baby. Yes.
Oh,
You're dead. You're dead. Now we have to do this all over again.
Medic, you completely get blasted off your
Can I
rocker.
do the
You're
deck save now?
instantly.
The dodge and lightning bolt. No, you
were intentional. What happens though is the metal that was placed in different areas on you to make you mobile or make you have jumpers had basically all melted. They're like fuses, and the metal has sunk into your joints in those different various areas. You will have disadvantage in any dex saves for the foreseeable future until you can get this removed. It's melted into the very capacitors and different magical circuits or whatever that you've got inside there, and it's causing further additional errors.
Wait,
and
don't
you're
I get?
already
Oh no, that's against
damaged.
poison. That's not poison. There.
Yeah, that's not poison. That's just metal
Or
inside of you.
disease.
All right. In that moment, Diedrich, you feel like your very life essence get a surge, and this pull that's 1,000-fold stronger than what the shadow creature was doing pulls you away from there. But as you leave, you see that dog howl in pain as its essence gets ripped apart, its tentacles shred it in half. That bull mastiff that gave its life for you, yet a second time over, gets ripped in pieces, and its essence gets absorbed into the hollow void of that creature. And in that moment, you wake up.
I'm going to kill that son of a...
You look over, and unfortunately, Medic is on the ground, just smoking, sizzling. There's glowing metal bits all over.
Where are my
Very
pants?
excited.
Where are my pants?
Oh, I went to find pants for him in town. I totally forgot.
Very good.
I think
So-
someone should explain to him that a Birdman took his pants.
There's actually a cloak made of ghoul skin in the party sheets, so those might work well.
As a dress or a skirt.
Uh, I'll,
A kilt. It's a kilt when it's a guy wearing it.
That's
I'll
true.
take it.
Can he also wear the platinum necklace with that as well? 'Cause I feel like that'd be a really good look.
What? All
I
right.
second that.
I'm gonna say that since he was unconscious, Medic is unaware of what's going on. He's on the ground sizzling. That yes, you guys put a skirt of ghoul skin and the necklace on Diedrich.
Yes.
Now, Diedrich, do you remember what we talked about after last game and what
Yes.
has occurred?
Yes.
Okay. So that's yours.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so Diedrich is suddenly aware that he's no longer wearing pants, but he does have a flesh skirt on.
Kilt. It is a kilt.
Just... And he seems strangely very attached to it. Like, he knows it's gross, but at the same time, he doesn't really want to take it away either. He's naked underneath. The closest you may remember is just outside of the camp, south on the way back toward town. If you were so desired to go get him his pants again.
Nah, he's got a cloak.
This will do fine for now.
Very good. So you guys look at, you guys are looking at Medic when Valentin steps closer, and he leans over, and he says his life is still in him, and he looks over at Diedrich, and he tells you, "Welcome back."
Who are
In that
you?
moment, go ahead.
Who are you?
He smiles.
What are you doing
The
here?
corner of his mouth turns up, and you notice his shadow sort of lengthens. Whereas everyone else's, because of the fire, is pointing away from the fire, his starts to go over it and actually extends beyond it. And the thing that Val didn't notice before, the rain wasn't actually touching him, though it was touching everyone else. It was rolling off of a barrier prior to his skin or his appearance. And the laughter that starts coming from the very depth of his person, he says,
I would have hated to lose that which I invested in. You guys are going to be way more fun than the last ones.
and in that moment, his very personage, it breaks apart and stretches and becomes this dark mist that starts moving away like a tornado, completely immune to the effects of normal fog or rain surrounding it, and leaves.
Medic
You realize
reaches
in
up
that
an arm
moment-
and says, Kylo. You sound
Kylo.
like Kylo Ren. Through his mask. I'm like, it sounds like Kylo Ren. Anyway, sorry.
Strahd Ren. Yeah, the other three, they collapse to the ground in this shaking fear, and you realize that they were not of their own accord while he was there. The reason their music was so good is he was controlling them. A man with hundreds, if maybe 1,000 years of practice, for all you know. And he was literally controlling the music played from each part. They're shaking and crying. The mother's holding her sons. They're adults, but, I mean, she's holding them. Now you realize why the outfits were so different. Theirs were colorful. They were the Vistani that Alec talked about. But the other one was none other than Strahd. And that means you were brought back to life by Strahd. Congratulations. I think that's where we'll need to leave it for tonight, too, unless you guys want to do
Goodness
something.
sakes.
You have 10 minutes.
I was gonna say, can I actually move, or are my joints fused, or I need to make a strength check to see if I can really snap the metal?
Now, you're able to get back up, but you have parts of you that are now damaged that is going to take, we'll say, 5 total rests before you're completely free of the metal.
Excellent.
Your system will be trying to remove it.
Well,
We
speaking
should
of,
rest.
You're
We
rebooting.
yeah,
should
speaking
rest
of rest, this would be a good time to do so.
the Vistani are more than happy to have you stay with them and help because they are terrified. There's wetness around them that is not from the rain, though you probably wouldn't have been able to tell that.
Did any of it get on Diedrich?
He had no pants on.
The wetness?
The wetness. No, that's better. Just the wetness on.
Oh my gosh. You and peeing on people, dude. I don't know.
It wasn't me. It was these guys.
I didn't pee on anybody.
Oh, I'm aware,
Girl,
but
how was the girl supposed to pee through a portal?
you ever heard of a pee funnel?
You didn't have a pee funnel.
Well, that you know of.
Wait,
Well, I'd hope she would know of it.
wasn't it Mag's character that peed through the portal, or was
Yes, it's
sorry.
exactly
I was
his
talking about this
character.
Oh, this game. Okay, I was like, wait. I always think of Levi's character as the one that pees on.
Well, I didn't do it on
Well, he
purpose. It was
too.
totally instant. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Instant. It was instant. That's true. You and me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that won't make any sense to random people watching this stream because they don't know about that game.
Yeah, we play another game too. And poor Diedrich's character in that game too.
So, Scott, keep a note for yourself that you have 5 rests before your deck saves are not at disadvantage.
4 after this one, right?
Yep.
That's right.
That's
Are
the
you guys
note
going
I-
to go and do your rest?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will censor
Okay.
myself.
Are we safe from wolves here? Because, you know.
Well, there's other people.
Well, there's other people, and there are, there's that nice wagon. It's a covered, protected wagon designed for travel. They spend some time with you. They explain to you that they're Vistani, and short little backdrop for them. They're the only race that's allowed to leave. And the reason for this is that many, many years ago, in a fight over the lands in this area, an invader group had basically nearly destroyed the entire family that lived there, of which Strahd was their son. King Barolf was the king of the land, his father. And basically, Strahd had gone out to fight to defend and got seriously, very grievously wounded. After having won a very great battle, he barely rode out of it on his horse, and for fear of being finished and killed, he basically went through the woods, traveling through, where he fell off of his horse near a Vistani wagon that had been going through. These are basically the gypsies of this realm. These Vistani took pity on him and used their strange magics and whatnot to make sure he stayed alive. And he vowed that he would never, ever allow that debt to be completely paid, for he owed them his life and the life of his family. Now, when he recovered and he went back, he found out that things did not go quite as well as he had planned. He had fallen in love with a woman who then had chosen instead his brother, Strahd's brother. Tatiana was her name. And his passion for her was so strong that even though they had won this fight and sealed the peace through this marriage, he was willing to risk it all in order to have her. His father had said no. He couldn't have Tatiana because she was betrothed to his brother. So the brother and Strahd had dinner one night where Strahd effectively had made a pact with an old god that he found in the temples off to the north. And that old god had said he would give him life eternal with the one he loves if in fact he brought a sacrifice worthy of his time. And it's rumored, though it wasn't confirmed, that Strahd killed his brother, and in so doing sealed that pact. And many years later, when he should have died, he did not. Tatiana, however, grieved, for she actually loved the brother and never truly ever wanted Strahd. So this darkness started settling in over the land, but Strahd never forgot his promise to the Vistani. So to this day, the Vistani are able to travel in and out. They make a habit of not taking much from there and not bringing much, because They don't want to upset the balance and upset the lord of this realm. But Strahd himself chooses, unless they force his hand, chooses to not harm them. He just uses them. So you will find that Vistani are in mixed boats. This group was actually a very big fan of him until this moment, and now they feel they understand why some of the Vistani have chosen to take forms like the Ravens, the Raven clan, and are actually secretly against Strahd. All right. That is where I think we'll call it. You guys will be resting. I'm going to go ahead and mark it as rested. We're going to go and do that, just so it's completed.
Great.
All right. Yeah. So you guys that are with Diedrich, you notice that he's acting a little bit different. You don't know what it is, but something's off. You don't know him well enough yet to recognize what it is. It's like a piece of him is not there. Okay. Hope you guys had fun.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right.
So we'll plan a game in what?
3 weeks.
Weeks then, I guess, is what it has to be.
Yep.
Okay, so it'll be a Saturday after we've had our Friday night game. I would like to get us back onto the alternating, so maybe we can do one the week after that as well, but I'll play it by you guys' schedules.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I'm, I'm open in
Yeah.
November, so.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank
toodaloo.
you.